Come on a little closer. We're going to toast Gene. We'd like your attention if you can gather it together. Can you imagine that, right? Here we go. Here we go. Step right up. One thin dime, 1/10 of a dollar. This is the night for Gene Mahon. We got a few thank yous I want to fling out there to the crowd. We want to thank you, Gene, for being the magnet that drew us all here together tonight. I say, COVID be gone. Gene Mahon is back in town, and this is a time where we can get together to celebrate him. There are a lot of people who made this happen tonight, and I want to thank him, and I made some notes, so excuse me while I read this. I want to thank Cliff and the Swing Dogs. Woo! Thank you so much. You know, people came from Charleston, these women up here singing from Charleston, South Carolina, from the Cape, from all over. Cliff came directly from heaven where he spends most of his time. We want to thank the owners of the Chicken Box, Rocky and John and Packy. Thank you. And Winnie, the bartender who did all the sound. Thank you, Winnie. We want to thank Laura Burnett and True Island Radio 97.7 for keeping Gene's thing alive. Thank you. We want to thank Kit Noble, who let us use his photographs. Get some at the door before they're gone. Oh, thank you, Kit. We want to thank Beth English and Chrissy Campbell and Mark Donato and Chris Glowacki, who put this together. Bobby Lamb. Everybody who contributed photographs for the slideshow, these awesome photographs. Thank you, thank you. We want to thank everybody who did. Remember the last time we got together here for Gene was for Man Down and Amanda Cross and Kit Murphy and Beth English and you know how great that was? Kara Marquis, you know, who did all the coasters. So that's the last time we gathered here. And now we got to thank Bill and Kim from Fairgrounds. They provided so much of this food. Thank you. We love you. We love you, Jenny Bentz from the Green. Thank you, Jenny. We love you, Shelley Lockwood, who took care of Gene for the last few years of his life. Oh, thank you, Shelley. We want to thank Trish Cool and everybody at the Homestead who made that home for Gene Mahon. They went out of their way, and I'll tell you something, you visited in there, you know if it's your turn, you might want to stop at the Homestead on your way out, baby. We want to thank all the volunteers who helped, everybody at the door, everybody all around, okay? We want to thank Amanda Morgan, who came all the way in from Las Vegas. She's going to talk about Gene when I'm done. And so is Angela Rayner, old friends, right? So stay tuned, don't leave. And now I can get rid of this book. Last night for an hour and a half, I talked to Arab. Everybody who knows Arab, he's Gene Mahon's oldest friend. His real name is Lawrence Hattab. I think his family was from somewhere in the Middle East, so we called him Arab. Before we knew better, I think he was from Lebanon. He was the coolest guy. He played guitar in a band. They met at Villanova. They went to a peace march in Washington, D.C., and they met Chick Walsh, and they met Terry Palmette. And those guys said, hey, the hell with Villanova and the hell with the Hamptons, come to Nantucket. And in 1969, Gene Mahon came here with his buddy Arab, and he fell in love with the place. He rented a shack on the beach in Pocomo. You've been out to his parties. I was there. I'll tell you how I met him. Showed up at the party. The sun was setting. I went, where the hell's the host? Gene Mahon. I heard there's a guy named Gene Mahon here. And they went, yeah, look up on the roof. And I look up on the roof like that photograph you saw around here tonight. And there's this guy up there. He's smoking a spliff. He's staring at the sun. He's got 10 girls on this side and 10 guys on the other side. Everybody's having a good time. And when he comes down, I say, you Gene Mahon? He said, who else would I be? He said, come on inside, John. And there's a music playing, and there's a band called It's a Beautiful Day from 1969, and they're playing a song called White Bird. And the lyrics go something like this: white bird in a golden cage, you gotta fly, you gotta fly, you gotta fly. That's it, the whole song. And all night long, Gene Mahon is dancing, and there's people all around him, and it was a commune that he created out there in Pocomo. They used to throw parties for his dog, any excuse to have a party. So Gene Mahon said, well, I love it here. I'm going to stay. He started painting houses. Well, you know, Gene, he never would be happy working for somebody else. He started his own painting company, but painting wasn't for him. As Arab told me last night, Gene Mahon was a guy who was a natural leader, and he wanted to do something special on Nantucket that was creative and productive and forward-thinking. And now let's talk about his life just for a second, okay? The first thing he did is that he went down, he always had a camera. You saw the photographs, always had a camera around his neck that he picked up at Villanova. Well, guess what? Gene Mahon walked into the camera shop one day to buy some film, and Charlie Folger was there, and Charlie Folger said, Gene, you can have the film, but you can also have the keys to this goddamn place. I'm sick of it. Gave the keys to Gene, and Charlie walked out. Gene took over the camera shop, and he ran it for years. He started the Quintessence Gallery, the first photography gallery on the island. But then that grew from that main street up into the second floor, where he started the first video store. And then he bought the first record shop, Nantucket Sound, from his buddy Arab. And then he started the first television station with, those guys. The Juice guys, right? Which turned into NCTV 18. And because Gene, was always on the wave of the future. But because he lived in Pocomo, and because he loved people, and because he wanted to party, he started something called Pocomo Productions. Jeffrey, you remember this. But in the days before social media, you had flyers that everybody put up around town, the bulletin boards. People would go out to the Navy base out at Tom Nevers, and there'd be 300 people like tonight, and everybody would be dancing, and at the end of the night, everybody would tear off their clothes and go down to the beach and jump in the water. And that's how I remember Gene Mahon. Floating naked on a wave under the full moon with about 100 people around him. That was a Pocomo production. Tonight is a Pocomo production. It's exactly like the good old days with the good old friends. Gene Mahon was somebody who loved people. That's why people loved him. Gene Mahon loved women. Women loved him. Have you ever known anybody who didn't like Gene Mahon? No. No, you didn't. I'll tell you something. Throughout his life, after doing all these things and photographing everything, right? It wasn't a film festival unless Gene was there, or a comedy festival, or a wine festival, or a dance festival, or a festival. Gene was there because it was a party and there were people, and he loved it, right? He was like, the Doors, let the games begin. But it all came together when he did the Roadhouse out at Fairgrounds, and he had the coolest nightclub ever in the history of Nantucket, right? So he loved music, he loved television, he loved radio, he loved photography, he loved wine, he loved women, he loved guys, he loved everything. And it all came together when he came up with the idea of creating the first blog in the history of Nantucket. And he combined everything, his love of writing, his love of people, his love of communication. He took his natural leadership and he put it out there in Man About Town. So, here's the deal. Here's the deal. Gene Mahon may not be here right now, but he is around forever because he is the man about town. His body gave out, his soul never gave out. Not his legacy, not his love for Nantucket, not the way he inspired a whole new young generation, not the way that his friendship has spread, and here we are, a living example of it. Gene Mahon is not gone. He's just on the wave to the next thing. And it's only a matter of time, but we catch up with that trailblazer who's gone ahead. We ask him to save a seat for us at the bar because we're on our way. Woo! Eugene Mahon. All right, so Liz, where's Amanda who worked with him side by side during Man About Town? Amanda, would you come up here, darling, all the way from Las Vegas, Nevada. This girl is the real deal.
Thank you, John Shea. Awesomeness. I'll put this down for a second. Okay. I'm going to share really, there's a million Gene stories you could share. If you know Gene, you probably have 10 in your back pocket at any time. Cuckoo! People at the bar, yo! Clink, 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 clink. Okay. We're talking about Gene, which is the important part. So one night after working events, which I think we all know I worked for him, Man About Town. We were working events. I had scored us a joint. I had to coerce Gene to share it with me. And he convinced me we needed burgers and go to the beach. So it was the summer or year Lola Burger had opened up. And we cruised in. Like everywhere we go, they're like, oh my God, it's Man About Town. They love him everywhere. It's Man About Town. We love your newsletter. So we order up our burgers. We pack up. We cruise beach. We went to Fisherman's, where there's that bench on the bluff. We have the burgers. Lola Burger, bomb. Thank you, Lola Burger. They were the best. And we had lots of laughs that night. It was clearly good weed, good burgers, good fun. A few weeks later, Gene's asking me, hey, you been back to Lola Burger lately? Yes, those burgers are so amazing. They don't taste the same to me since then. What do you mean? They're just not as good. How do you order it? Blah, blah, blah. The boring classic burger, the way he likes it. And I was like, you're ordering it wrong. It's the Lola Wagyu beef burger. Crushed it. Anyways, I have something to share that Gene wrote to me about 10 years ago. How am I going to do this, Shay? Thanks. So I'm going to read a part of this. And to be honest, thank you. To be honest, these words are way more about Gene than me. I don't know what he was thinking, but I love listening to Gene, hearing Gene's words. No, I got it. My dear Gene, How do I replace the irreplaceable? Life without Gene begins today. I'll awaken each morning and for a brief moment will not feel your absence. Then the sadness will flood in. I'll linger longer in thought before beginning that day. Days will be darker, nights without sparse sparkle. There is now a hole in the soul of Nantucket that will not fill quickly nor easily. A forlorn loon-like call cries out, "Where are you? Why aren't you here? And when will you be back?" All with childish impatience. We were man and Manda about town, and so shall ever be. And do not forget, we two, together and alone, on a bench put there just for us at the edge of the ocean, dewy with the warmth and wetness of summer, and between bursts of laughter and particles of moonlight, are the best burgers ever made. I miss you achingly, all my love. To burgers, when ordered correctly, beaches, and Nantucket's best friend.
Great. Amanda Morgan, thank you, Amanda, all the way from Las Vegas, Nevada. Now, maybe all the way from Nantucket is Angela Rayner in the house. And Angela, if so, do you want to say something, darling? Are you there, Angela? I haven't laid eyes on you, and you might not be here. Oh, she is. All right. Angela Rayner.
Okay, so I'm going to try something I used to try at last call. And Gene was there for a fuck ton of last calls. So let's try this. Let's all go, Gene. 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 All the way in the back. Gene. Shh. Shh. That's a pretty good attempt. And then I usually used to say, find your person and go. But I'm not going to do that now. Instead, I'm so inspired to see so many people who the stories have stories. I was asked to tell one story. That's not possible with Gene. Gene was truly the fabric of our community. I wrote this down earlier today because I figured I would probably just lose it. So he was life of the party, ponytailed, Converse wearing, town crier. Gene was all about this island, and he was really all about this town. Our observer, making the rounds on any given night, Gene was ever ready to write down the latest scoop or launch a plot on the tiny squares of paper. No iPhone. Tiny squares of paper in his blazer pocket. Gene loved restaurants, and restaurants loved Gene. Gene elevated and informed, and he shared his zest of the pursuit of the perfect moment and the best night ever. He was our vibologist, our promoter, our connector, our chronicler. He was a deleter, thank God. He was our aficionado, enricher, extoller, advocate, dreamer, and man, did he love music. But most of all, he was my friend. And he was a really, really good friend. To this community, to the many non-for-profits, the music scene, the art scene, restaurants, hospitality community, each of you here tonight, Man About Town. Jesus, we were so lucky, and did we even know it? Gene promoted local businesses and causes using the internet that he had no idea how it worked. We all know that grader. So yes, it feels impossible to pick one story to best capture Gene. Instead, I would ask everybody to collectively raise a glass. I don't have one with me, but to say, instead of how we used to always say, Here's to Paul. I think from now on, why don't we say, here's to Gene. I love you, Gene. You'll be with us always. And you are forever, ever Man About Town. Thank you. I don't know who's next.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I love that. Yeah, instead of it, Paul, it's a Gene. Okay, I'm on with that. Let's just say one last thing. Gene came here in 1969 and he left in 2022. That's 53 years. The man who lived here, loved here, gave more than he ever got back. A man who, rang a bell that rings forever. Because when you are a guy like Gene Mahon, that reverberation never ends. It's something you pass on to your kids and your grandkids, and it's about love. And so thank you all for coming here tonight. Thank you, everybody, for helping make it happen. I want to thank somebody who I forgot at the beginning, Rose Mitchell, who was the last person to see Gene alive because her brother was sick. And Rose Mitchell, over the years that he was at the homestead and the years that he was over on the Cape in Centerville, she brought him socks because that's what Gene wanted most. She brought him 18 pairs of socks. And when he passed away, he didn't have much in life, but he had 18 pairs of really cool socks. So we love you and thank you, and let's have fun. Here comes E. Cliff back. Oh, wait, one more thing. Yeah, Beth, come on up, darling. You want to announce this? Let's do it. Ladies and gentlemen, Beth English, you helped put all this together.
Hey, I just wanted to give y'all a little bit of good news. I'm standing here in place of Adam Dredd, but he organized it. Yes, Adam organized with the town of Nantucket to have the bench in front of the camera shop dedicated in memory of Gene. Yep. So on Tuesday, it will be Gene's bench, although it always has been, and the sign says, in memory of Gene Mahon, the man about town, one of the kindest souls to ever grace Nantucket.
Awesome. Fantastic. All right, see you on the bench.